Hey there! Let's talk about another one of my personal pens.
Oh, sbrebrown, but you only have pens that are like 10, 100 million, billion dollars.
No, I don't. No, I really don't. Yes, I have a few pens that are very expensive. This is true. I won't deny it. But I also have a lot of pens in a very comfortable mid-range price segment, and I also have pens that really are not that expensive at all, relatively speaking. Important qualifier, relatively speaking. And I think probably the most affordable pen I have in my collection is this one, and I'll be honest, I love it. This is inked up a lot of the time. Opus 88, Omar. And this is the clear model. I wanted to have the clear model. I had another Omar sent to me for review at some point. It was great. It was, you know, but I wanted it clear. When I saw they had a clear one, I wanted it. So I got this. One-way shutoff valve, large ink capacity. You can regulate the wetness of the nib a little bit by opening that valve or closing it off a bit more, and if you keep it closed at some point it's going to stop writing because there's no more ink flow from the primary to the secondary ink chamber, right? In case you've never seen, I have done a video on one-way shutoff valve. I don't want to go over all that stuff again, but there is a secondary ink chamber there and there's a primary chamber here. Why do I like this pen so much? I think it's cool. First of all, I like the one-way shutoff valve. People complain sometimes you have to use an eyedropper, blah, blah. Yeah, I understand that, but literally that takes 20 seconds, right? So this is really not a big deal. It's a larger pen, and I find it very comfortable section, number 6 steel nib, plastic feed, works really well. For me, this one often goes with blue-black inks. That's in my mind, for me, that combination works. You have experienced that? If you ink up a pen with a certain color, then you always expect that kind of color. It's a really weird psychological effect. I guess you get invested and then you want that color again. It's really weird. Anyway, for me that is blue-black in this pen, and this is a workhorse pen. This is something I can take to work. If it rolls off my desk, well, it's tough luck. If it breaks, I wouldn't actually lose much sleep over it. I'm not saying it's a $10 pen because it's not, but this is not a $500, $600, $700, $800 pen. This is definitely not a $2,000 pen. So there are benefits to a more inexpensive pen. Plus, it works really well in a work situation, provided that your hands are big enough to use it, because for some people that is an issue. I have no issues with it. I think it's a great pen for work. Ink capacity is high. It's not super expensive. It has a simple steel nib. And I'm going to be honest, this pen writes. Every time I uncap it, it writes. There are no hard starts. There's no running dry. There's none of these things. Until you run out of ink, you can write with this pen as you uncap it, which I think is fantastic. Can you expect that from every pen? Of course you should expect it from every pen. Does every pen work that way? Unfortunately not. It's the reality of fountain pens. We can have long discussions about that, but that's what I'll say about that. This thing has been very reliable. Plus, I really love the size, the feel, the looks. Simple, uncompromising, but also unassuming. A simple pen that does exactly what it's supposed to do. And I bet I can't do it now because it's a little slippery. There we go. If you really hate clips, clip gone. And it works and everything fits together, which I kind of like too. I don't need a pen without a clip, but the idea is nice. So you always have that to fiddle around with if you want to. For me, again, the size, the shape, the ink capacity, the reliability have made this a really good option for me as a pen. Something I have in my collection that I love using, and it really wasn't that expensive. So let's see how it writes. That's pretty much it. Okay, so here we go with the Opus 88 Omar. I'm using this sheet of paper that I have used before for another video to not waste any paper, if you don't mind. So here we have the Opus 88 Omar steel broad nib. I'm going to open up that valve because that's how I typically use it. And the ink is the Waterman blue-black, which I think is very nice. For some reason it works for me with this pen. The nib is smooth. This is not the broadest broad in the world. I think in a lot of companies this would kind of be a medium. maybe a slightly fat-ish medium, but a medium. Pleasant. What I like about the fact that it's not too broad is that this is something you can really use for work purposes. If you need to fill out a form, I mean, you might want to use something a little finer, but you could theoretically do it with this. It's not a super ultra broad, etc. Oh, skip. That is very fast writing, though. I think it's a very nice, nicely tuned nib. It's not a gusher, but it is nice and more than wet enough. Holds a lot of ink, and again, it's just comfortable, and it sort of weirdly posts, but then it becomes very big and it's a bit wobbly, so I don't think it's meant for that. I love it. I also love simple things like this very polished end. It just looks cool. Again, it's a very simple pen that I love using. So I hope that was useful, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye bye.